All right, Mr. Ahmed here for bar graphs and circle graphs. First one we're going to look at is a bar graph, and it's also called a bar chart. It is a graphical display of data using bars of different heights or widths. The bar graph is used when we compare quantities or different categories. The bars provide a visual display for the comparison. So these are good for categorical questions like, what do you like to do? What do you want to buy? Where are you going to go? Would you prefer to go to Chipotle or Qdoba? And maybe who's your favorite basketball player? Who's your favorite football player? Questions like that could be asked to somebody. And then we could poll a specific number of individuals and find the answers to those questions. So when I take a look at a bar graph, I have all my categories over here. I have students' favorite after-school activities. We polled some students to see what they prefer. And when we poll these students, they could choose playing sports, talk on the phone, visit with friends, earn money, chat online, school clubs, or watch TV. So these are my categories. So the first question that we need to answer based off this graph is, how many categories are represented in the graph? So I have to count the number of categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different categories that we could choose from. The next question says, which after-school activity do students like the most? So the number of students, the one that they liked the most was to visit with friends, 99 of them. So that was by far the highest one that was chosen. So they like visiting with friends. The next question says, which after-school activity do students like the least? And it appears that the least liked one was school clubs, only 22. How many students like to talk on the phone? So I need to look at the talk on the phone category and see how many liked that. So talking on the phone, it appears 53. And which two are liked almost equally? It appears as if the ones that are almost equal would be earning money and playing sports, 45 and 44. Earning money. And playing sports were liked pretty equally. And the next question says, how many students were surveyed to see what their favorite activity was? So for us to figure out how many were surveyed to see what their favorite activity was, I would have to add these up. 45 plus 53 plus 99 plus 44 plus 66 plus 22 plus 37. And when I add all those up, it turns out there were 366 students surveyed. I have to add them all up. And what percentage of students liked earning money the most? So how many liked earning money? It appears as if there were 44. So 44 out of the 336, 44 divided by 366. And when I take 44 divided by 366, I get 0.12, which is 12%. I have to move the decimal 2 to the right to change it to a percent. And the range of the values, the biggest one, 99, minus the smallest one, 22. So the biggest one was 99 minus 22 gets us 77. All right, on to the next example. And here we have a double bar graph, and the double bar graph is used to compare categories with 2 or more different data sets. So the first couple things I want to do is I just want to fill this in so it's a little easier for me to read. It appears as if we have the number of students choosing their favorite sports and the number of students when they chose their favorite sports. I need to fill in the values here. So for basketball, I have boys and I have girls. Boys are in white, girls are labeled in the black bar. So for the boys, it looks like we had 36 say that basketball was their favorite. For the girls, we had 24. For bowling, we have a 20 for the boys and a 12 for the girls. Soccer was 32 and 28. Just have to look across. Tennis, we have 20 for the boys, 28 for the girls. Volleyball, 12 and 32. So, how many total boys were surveyed? If I add up all the boys, I have 36 plus 20 plus 32 plus 20 plus 12, and I get 120 boys that were surveyed. And we surveyed, adding up the girls, 124. So you could use a calculator to calculate that. I did that ahead of time to try and keep the video a little shorter. Add up all the values. How many categories are there? Well, it appears if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different categories to choose from. The two data sets that we have is we are surveying both boys and girls. Which sport do the boys like to play the most? Well, it appears as if boys definitely chose basketball, 36 of them. The girls appeared to like volleyball the most at 32. Which sport was the most popular of everyone surveyed? So, appears as if the most popular for everyone surveyed would have to be soccer. And the reason why we had 32 for the boys, 28 for the girls, that was the most taken one if I add them up. So 36 plus 24 was close for the basketball. That was 60. And when I look at the soccer, we also had 32 plus 28, which is also 60. So I would say soccer and basketball. Anyone else get 60? No. We had 60 choose basketball and 60 choose soccer. So both of those were pretty even. Okay. Which percentage of boys like tennis? So the boys that chose tennis, we had 20 choose tennis for the boys out of 120 total boys, because I calculated that up. So 20 out of 120 is equal to, using my calculator, 0.166, which is about 17%. And what percentage of the students liked bowling? So for the whole students, for the bowling, we had 20 boys, 12 girls, so that's 32, divided by all the students surveyed. 120 plus 124 is 244. So 32 divided 244, get right at about 13%. Okay, 32 divided by 244, 13%. And which sport had the greatest difference between how many boys like it and how many girls like it? That appears to definitely be volleyball, because we had 32 girls and 12 boys, so that's a difference of 20. So just using our graph to interpret the data. Alrighty, our next page, our goal here is to construct a bar graph. So for us to construct this bar graph, we had 400 families surveyed about which type of pet they have. We're gonna construct the bar graph based off the survey. So I'm putting my pets down at the bottom. My number of families over on the y-axis. All right, now I gotta be a little bit strategic here in choosing how far I gotta get up. It appears if we have to get at least up to 200, so I'm not gonna count by ones over here. I am going to count by 25. So 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is put in the dogs. We have to get up to 180 for the dogs, so that's to about right here. So dogs went up to 180. Then we could color this in. I'm not gonna get too carried away with that. For the cats, we were at 160, so that would be a little bit lower, right about here. Cats, 160, and we could color in this bar. For the birds, we were at 25, so that's right here. Birds, 25. And we also had 25 families like fish, so straight across here for the fish at 25. And I could color that one in. And finally, the other was up at 110. So that's like right about here. And 110, other. So So I was able to construct my graph. And next, a circle graph is a graph that displays, displays data as a sector of a circle. The entire circle represents all of the data. Not all categorical data sets can be displayed as a circle graph. So in this circle graph, we have 80 students that were asked how many siblings they have. The results are represented in the circle graph below. Use the graph to answer the following questions. So it appears 40% of the people surveyed, which is 40% of 80, they said 10% said they had none, 3 or more, 25%, and 2 is at 25%. So what percentage of students had no siblings? And that was 10%. How many students had 2 siblings? So for me to calculate how many students had 2 siblings, that's 25%, which is 0.25 of the total 80. So 0.25 times 80, and that gets us, using my calculator, 0.25 times 80, I got 20. And how many degrees are in the sector representing 3 or more siblings? So let's see here, 3 or more is 25% of 360 because there's 360 total degrees. So 360 times 0.25 is equal to 90. Okay, and that's using our circle graph. And we're just going to take a look at one more circle graph here and answer a couple questions, and that's it for today. So in this one, we have 80 cars were sold at a dealership in 1 week. The circle graph represents the type of cars that were sold. How many more SUVs were sold than minivans? So first I have to figure out how many SUVs were sold. So SUVs, we have 25% of 80 cars. So 0.25 times 80. And then we need to figure out how many minivans were sold, which is 15%, so 0.15 of 80. And then we'll subtract. So 25% of 80 is 20. 15% of 80 is 12. So 20 minus 12 tells me that we sold 8 more SUVs. And how many degrees are in the minivan sector? So minivan sector is 15, so we have 15%, 0.15 of 360. And 15% times 360, I'll use parentheses. That is 54 degrees. And that's it for today. Have a good one.